Okay, let's take a look at the graphs of the function we were just looking at. The function was this y equals 5 to the power of x. We want to take a look at its graph, and here's the table of values for it. You'll notice that instead of fractions, it's got decimals in here, but let's take a look at what we have here. When x is 1, y is 5. When x is 2, y is 25. When x is 3, y is 125. And that's for, again, when the base is 5. Obviously, if the base were some other number, these would be different. The one thing we know for sure, though, is that when we plug in 0, we're always going to get 1, because when you take the base and you divide it by itself, you're going to get 1. So 5 divided by 5 is going to give me 1. And then 1 divided by 5 is 1/5. Now, you'll notice that this is a decimal, but 1/5 is 0.2 as a decimal. And then when you divide by 5 again, you'll get 0.04 for this particular function. So I did say that these are points on a graph, so let's take a look at what we have here. You'll notice again, this is a point that every one of our graphs will go through. I'm going to show the negative values here. There it is, -1. That's technically 1/5. And this one is -2, 1/25. Let me scoot this over a little bit. When we have a power of 1, we should get the base, which is 5. Anything raised to the power of 1 is just going to give itself. So if the base were 4, that would be 1/4. If the base were 3, that would be the 0.13, and so on and so forth. When the power is 2 for this particular function, you'll see that there it is. The 0.225 did show up there. There it is. And when the power is 3, there it is. It shows up right there. Now you'll notice that these graphs go up really, really fast. So that's what an exponential function does, is it curves up and grows very quickly, increases very, very quickly. So what I want you to be able to do is understand that what you're doing is you're taking your base, which in this case it was 5. It could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 4. I want you to plug in at least 2 negatives. So start with -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. You don't really have to plug in 3. If you get just -2 all the way through the power of 2, and then figure out your answers along here, graph those points and sketch it as best you can on the graph, then you should see something that looks a lot like this shape. It might be a little bit flatter depending on the base, but one thing that's true is no matter how negative I go with the, notice along here, no matter how negative I go with the exponent, it's never going to cross or even touch 0. It looks like it touches 0, but if I were to zoom in, you'll notice that the more I zoom, the more you see that it's getting closer to 0, but it never actually touches 0 on that left side. So it's never going to touch, even though it gets closer and closer, it's never going to touch it. So you graph it as if it's getting there, but then you kind of make sure that you don't actually cross that line. Okay, so in your work today, what I'm going to expect you to do is be able to come up with the points for when x is -2, when x is -1, when x is 0, when it's 1, and also when it is the number 2. So I want you to be able to graph those points and then sketch your graph. And that's it.